Hello everyone and welcome to this interview with the fabulous Maria Turner. Hi Maria.
Hi.
So we're going to start today. If you could just tell us a little bit about you and your artist story so far.
Okay, so it kind of goes a long way back. I think when I was young, so I grew up in Scarborough and I'm also half Italian. So there was always a lot of beautiful landscapes around me. So I got a lot of influence from that. And when I was a child, I got sort of carted around nice places like Rome and Florence. So, we went in all these amazing churches. So I think that whole load of sort of colour and beauty sort of had an influence at that time. I didn't study, my first degree wasn't art. I always drew and was interested in artists, but I did sociology for my first degree, which I think subsequently has sort of influenced some of my art.
So was there a moment when you thought, no, sociology isn't right for me, I'm going to go into the creative practice again?
No, it was more circumstance. I mean, I really enjoyed sociology and I really enjoy writing. So I did enjoy that subject. But after I finished there, I went and did marketing. I did a marketing diploma before I started work. And then I spent 9 years in marketing and I was involved in publicity and sort of design side. So I think my artistic outlet during that time was doing that. But at that time as well, I took some courses in ceramics. So I got a couple of qualifications in ceramics and I was about to get kiln. And then I retrained to be a teacher. So kind of life got in the way again of doing anything formal with the art. So I taught for a few years and then I had 2 children. So again, that was then an opportunity to spend some more time thinking about the art. And with 2 small children, I started going up to London to the Mary Ward Centre. And that's a really fantastic art institution. And I did what similar to a foundation I did there, but it was a bit longer because it was a foundation and an access into further education. So I think it was 2 years. And it was great because we did printing, we did painting, working with materials, 3D, everything really. So that kind of set me up to thinking about going further.
And that's wonderful that you did the marketing and publicity, because nothing's wasted, is it? And I think as an artist, has that really helped you, do you think? Because as an artist, you have to be a marketer, you have to do your own publicity. Has that helped you?
Well, yeah, it has, because I don't think I feel intimidated by sort of, new things or trying to publicize events. I mean, outside of the sort of education and art, I've been involved in other things which have required that. So much later, I was involved with the Creatives and the Tunbridge Wells Collective Gallery. And, South East Open Studios, it all involves publicity, doesn't it? And even sort of curating exhibitions with other students, you've got to create publicity material, flyers, put it on Instagram these days. So yeah, it's all helped.
Oh, yeah. That's brilliant. And you sound like you've got involved in so many different things and come at it from so many different angles, which I think comes across in your work because you use such an interesting combination of media throughout. Could you tell us a bit about your use of media?
Yeah, I mean, when I started, when I was doing the foundation degree, which I did at Tunbridge, you for the first 2 years, you just use every other media. So we did glass, we did printmaking, we did photography, and we in fact didn't do any painting. And it was only during my BA top up that I focused on the painting. So I've kind of always had a sort of open attitude towards materials. And I don't feel that, you should be limited by one media. But I did focus on oil painting for several years. So that was kind of at the back, but I did want to sort of get more skilled at using oil paint, so I did focus on that for quite a long time.
So, oh, sorry. I was
No,
going to say, so on your most recent works, what kind of materials are you using? For example, those ones behind you that just look incredible.
so on these, this is a sort of different process I've started doing this year, actually, where I'm not, because usually I hang work on the wall,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how I work, with loose canvas on the wall, and I prefer working larger. And then I will actually do my own frames, not frames, I've forgotten what they're called.
Stretchers.
I'll do my own stretchers and stretch it afterwards once I've done the work, and then I might add some stuff. But these works I've been doing on a tabletop, so an art table, so you can apply a lot more pressure, and I was combining collage, so there's many sort of layers on there, and it just has become much more textural, whereas my work, say if I show you this one, which is,
oh wow,
so that is just oil, so obviously the surface is like really smooth and kind of quite refined, and with that I'd be using lots of glazes, so there's always been layering involved in my work, but that would be more subtle layering, whereas these works, it's loose canvas, so it's quite, you know, rough in a way, so it's just more textural in the finish of it.
They look fantastic. They look really, really good. And so where does your inspiration come from for those?
Well, this year, I mean, it's all to do with being in this art studio, actually, because, you know, I've been in lockdown like everybody, but all my teaching, which was external, landed up in here. So I was doing all my Zoom teaching from here, all my artwork from here, and it is in the middle of a garden. So I've just felt amongst it. So I think that's what's come out in these quite plantily, florally images. But it's this feeling of, because they're quite intense, particularly that one. So it's this feeling of intensity that I think we've all felt, because so for example, my daughters all came home because they were studying from home. My husband was working from home. So everybody had their place in the house, and my workplace and art place, everything was in here. So I think that's where the influences come from.
So is your studio at the bottom of your garden that you're in now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So it's like your like you say, your place in the house.
Yeah. I got chucked out, so I'm here. But it's a great place. You know, it's a great place to be.
Like your retreat.
Yeah.
And then tell us a bit more about your teaching. So is it art that you teach?
Well, both actually. I work for the Right Tuition Company, based in Tunbridge Wells, but I teach in Tunbridge, and it's maths and English mainly. So it's supporting children after school teaching, but it's also towards the 11 plus if that's what they want to go for. But then I also have tutored children here in art. And I've also taught in schools doing workshops. I did a really nice workshop last year, which I was just doing painting. It was chaos. It was such chaos because they're just so excited, you know. And I was doing mixing colours, so I was from 3 colours. They were just amazed that you could mix every single colour, you know, because usually at school you just get the bottles of paint.
Yes, yeah, pre-mixed.
Yeah, so that was good fun.
And you were telling me earlier that during this time you've become a bit of a student in doing all these courses online.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some amazing courses. I mean, during the summer I did one at Morley, which was more of a sort of independent art project where you would meet on a Friday and have tutorials, but then you would get on with your own project. But it was just so encouraging, and also just networking, meeting other artists who are from all over the place. I'm currently doing another one now with the Royal School of Drawing, and it's printing, because I wanted to see whether I could extend, again, you know, I'm adding different media to the painting at the moment, whether printing could be an sort of additional element. But it's quite challenging going back to it. I mean, I did printing years ago, but it's such a process.
Your studio's gonna be so full. You're gonna get like a printing press, you're gonna get your kiln.
Well, it's great because the printing, you have to use home methods. So basically we're using the back of a spoon instead of it going through a printer. So you just use whatever you've got at home, and it's amazing, you can get some good results. Yeah, it's good fun.
Oh, that's great. So the course is really inclusive then. No matter what you've got, like you say, what you've got at home, you can just use it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole idea of this course, because obviously it's online, so you can't get to a press. So I think, a lot of art colleges have been really adaptive, haven't they?
Mm. And so would you say that the whole lockdown and everything that's happening at the moment, would you say it's more of a blessing or a curse in terms for you and your artist journey?
Well, on my artist journey, I suppose I can't say one or the other, to be honest with you. There's benefits. It was a benefit for me in that I was in my studio such a lot, because even if you're not doing work, you're viewing it. And I think that really helps, that you're just absorbing it and you're seeing it all together. Whereas, you have to, even if your studio's in your garden, if you're in the house, you kind of still got to make the effort to be, come into the studio. So that was definitely a blessing. Yeah. But obviously things like exhibiting, it's not been such a blessing, and different things have been cancelled, and it's got really tricky. But then what you're doing is really great. So, it's been an impetus to get involved with that more online event too.
Yeah, everything's just been evolving, hasn't it? And people are learning to adapt to this new world. And because you're usually involved in Southeast Open Studios, aren't you?
Yeah, I've done that for the last 3 years, which I really enjoyed. Last year I was the area coordinator, it was lovely because I got to meet more artists locally, see what they did. So it was a real shame when it couldn't go on, but they still had an online presence, the 220 Open Studios, which was good. So I got some work into that, and they've got a really lively social media team, so they're on top of it in that way. But no, I hope that can come back. So I just do it in my shed here. Last year, actually, we were going to do it as a group in a place called The House in Tunbridge Wells. So I think there were 3 or 4 of us. So I was looking forward to that, but that wasn't to be this time round. So yeah, I'm also involved with, do you know SVAF?
No, I don't.
Art Forum.
Okay.
It's more of a critique forum. It's a sort of meeting place for very different artists, some very conceptual, but they have opens which are chosen by London galleries sometimes. So it's just a great thing to be involved with. It's just another network of artists. So I'm involved with that as well.
And you've got to tell us a bit about the Bedroom Artists.
Oh yeah, the Bedroom Artists. It's a London-based art collective, and again, they created an initiative. They did an open call, and I think there's artists from all over the place going to be exhibiting. But I think that's now going to be online. It's very dependent again on whether they can get a location in London. But the open call is all about how we've responded to lockdown, which I think fair few open calls are about at the moment. But again, it's just good to have something for your work to aim at, and an impetus to carry on and investigate with what you're doing.
Absolutely. So I keep staring at the artworks behind you and just wondering if you do initial sketches. So I was just staring at the one, like you say, the busy one on the left.
Yeah, well, with that one, what I've been doing of late is using a lot of collage shapes to draw around initially. So I'll have But I mean, there's a lot of processes. I mean, on that one, I poured a load of paint on first. So then I'd let that dry. So then you've got marks already on the painting that are unexpected. So that will obviously affect where you might then draw. So, but because I've been using similar shapes with the collage, it's created a what's the word I'm trying to find? A continuation of the sort of motifs that I've been using. So it's just a good way to start. So I'm drawing around the collage shapes and moving them and using different sizes. So that's kind of a way in. Rather than, I'm not actually copying a visual or anything. I'm working with different shapes, but then a lot of it's still from the imagination as I develop.
And do you remember, I'm always interested to know, the first piece of artwork you ever created, even if it was as a child? And do you think there are elements of that in your work now? Because often there are. I remember Danny, she says that she's always drawn fruit, like always.
Yeah, well, I'm a doodler, and I've doodled. I mean, I think that is drawing, but I've done that in my entire life. I just can't stop if I've got a pen. And I mean, this isn't work that I've always done. I'm not plant-based, but I always draw leaves. Part of my doodling is always leaves, always faces. So I think curves. I've always sort of done curves rather than sort of straight lines. So I think I remember first drawing leaves or faces. So I think it's the curve that's the influence. But obviously, like a lot of girls, I was doing princesses an awful lot when I was,
of course,
when I was a child.
And they don't feature in your work at the moment.
No, I mean, when I did my degree, I was very figurative, and I had a real focus on a particular actress, actually, called Monica Vitti, Italian actress. And I was doing lots of faces. So, I mean, this is a really old, kind of more figurative piece.
Oh, wow. That is so different, isn't it, than your work now?
It is, but it's still kind of subject matter, yes, but it's still quite abstract in that I'm using kind of materials. But yeah, and I still love doing faces. I love doing figurative work.
And can you show us any more of your studio? Is there anything else hiding around the corners?
Well, it's incredibly messy. I've got one here.
Studios are.
Yeah, I've got one here that I'm working on at the moment. It's pretty big,
Wow.
which I think is actually on the website. But you can see that it's really kind of rough canvas. So that will need a lot of stretching, because at the moment it's not stretched, it's just loose. So there's all sorts going on. Originally this had dye, so this is actually dye. It was put on the painting. And then again, you can see that I'm using sort of motifs of shapes. But it's trying to get some sort of uniformity with there being so much going on. So I still feel that I need to sort of work on that. I mean, I've got things that are much more figurative. Yeah. So I'm just disappearing. So something like that, but that's just that where I'm enjoying working with materials and working on things. So that's more oil pastel. But a studio is just full of experiments.
Yeah, it's got to be, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I do a fair amount of works on paper, which are on the website as well. So that's an older one. But I do really enjoy working on paper just because it's really fluid, and you can get a really lovely brush line. Mm-hmm. So the other thing that we had to cancel this year, because I'm the chairwoman of the Spelltest art show as well.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And yeah, we were going to run it this year, but we had to we had to stop at. So again, trying to do some sort of online thing, but that's not come off so far.
Have you got a big plan for next year then? Are you hoping to go ahead?
Yeah, we're talking about maybe the spring, but it's such a lot to organise that, you know, it's difficult to make that commitment, isn't it? And involve a lot of people. You don't want to let other people down. But
it's that, isn't it? It's because there's so many artists, aren't there? And then if you suddenly say, oh, we literally can't do it, I'm so sorry. I've got that. I've just taken over September art exhibition in Wadhurst.
Right.
Literally, and we're having the exact same discussions. We're quite lucky though, that has to be September. So we've got that, but we're planning, but then you just don't know.
So are you planning for next year?
Oh yes, yeah.
Because it is September. Yeah. I mean, let's pray that that's okay for next year.
Yeah, everything crossed, because and I don't know how you'd get the same thing across online. So
no, although I mean everybody's getting used to that though, aren't they? A lot more. So at least we're more tuned in than we would have been. Yeah.
We were just saying, weren't we, all these companies we should have invested in, like ArtLogic viewing rooms, Zoom, all these things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I wish I had.
So tell me, during your journey, are there any people that stand out for really helping you and your artist practice?
Well, if I really go far back, my uncle would definitely be one, because he's an oil painter. That's my Italian side. So from a very young age, you know, he would have these beautiful oil paintings he was doing of the sea just on his veranda. And I think that influence has been that art's really normal. So it's not something, you know, separate to life. It's just part of living. Going on to education, I guess I've had some really good tutors. Mary Ward Centre, there was a really encouraging artist who encouraged my painting side. And then at West Kent, when I did my degree there, both tutors there that ran the course were really great. Yeah, I'm really encouraged. Just having a really open attitude and just going with it, really. Just keep pushing. Yeah. And I think sometimes, sorry.
No, carry on, please do.
No, I was going to say on my MA, again, because I did some very different paintings. I did some what we call like expanded paintings, so huge, more 3D type work. But, you know, they encouraged me to do that. And it's quite difficult to move away from what you know, but I think it really helps, and everything that you do sort of feeds into what you do a bit later on. So yeah, I've had some good tutors.
Yeah, that's really, really nice to hear that those people supported you.
Yeah.
And has your journey inspired any advice that you would give another artist that's just come from, you know, what's worked for you and what's worked well?
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably most artists are saying this, that, you know, networking and just getting yourself involved with things, almost like getting involved before you feel ready. So, you know, you don't have to have that amazing piece of artwork, you know, just go for it, and then you'll find that you will produce work for it. I think it works that way round in a way, because you kind of need that sort of pressure, but also just to keep learning and accept that your work will change as well. And then, you know, don't sort of be hung up about that. Yeah,
I think that's so important. You don't have to be totally ready, because a lot of people wait and they go, no, I've got to have this, I've got to have this. But everyone's a work in progress, aren't they, with their work, and it's all a journey.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely a journey. Yeah, I still feel like I'm always learning. Definitely.
And what's the best place for people to keep up to date with your work, buy your work, see your work? Where should we go?
Well, my website's not bad now. In fact, pretty up and running, so they can go there, or they can look at my Instagram page too. That's got all my details on. So either of those is absolutely fine.
Fab. And they can contact you through those?
Yes, they can. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for speaking to me today. Is there anything else you wanted to talk to us about?
No, I think we've covered most things, unless you need to find anything else out from me. It's been really nice talking to you.
That's been lovely. I think we've covered a lot of ground, actually.
Oh, that's good.
I'm sure we always have lots of people when we do the lives ask lots of questions. So I'm sure people will comment with questions. So if you see them, do just respond, because I'm sure they'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I will do. All right.
That's great. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
Molly.
Thanks.
Bye.